Well, welcome back to a very important conversation with coach and leader Gillian McShane. Gillian, thanks again for your wisdom and for just being with us here today.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
Well, we're talking about vulnerability, and I know some people are squirming right now. They're like, I just don't think that's helpful. I don't want to share my stuff, let alone own it. What is one thing before we move on here? What's one thing maybe someone could do to become more vulnerable? Like, how do you do that if you're not used to doing it?
Oh, well, listen, I was that person. I would rather have had root canal than be vulnerable. So I understand that because it feels very scary. It feels like maybe you're exposing yourself and opening yourself up. And if you've been hurt in the past, it might feel really painful to do that again.
Yes.
Um, I mean, let's face it, baby steps, right?
Yeah.
It has to be with someone that you can trust.
Mm.
And I think that if you've got a good friend, and just say to them, I'm really trying to work on myself. I really want to be more Christ-like in my life, and I want to be more vulnerable. So I want to share sort of what's going on and how hard that is for me, and why it's hard for me, and just start there.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good place to start.
Yeah, that's really good. So there's no perfect relationships. We know that.
No.
So when there's challenges, like give us some examples of how we should show up in relationships particularly relationships where there are challenges.
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all healthy relationships have conflict. All relationships have conflict. But, when I can understand that I have a part in the conflict, just like we talked about before, owning our own stuff, that's when I can say to a friend or my spouse or a peer, a member of my team, I understand that oftentimes I come across this way to you, or I might be abrupt with you, and I'm really trying to work on that. So would you help me along here? How do you hear from me when I'm in a healthy place? And how do you hear from me when I'm not in a healthy place?
Wow.
The more we invite some insight into our own lives, it really helps other people get along with us. It also helps people know that we're trying. And you and I have worked on teams where, there's often conflict on a team. And as good Christians, we're trying to be nice to each other. But being nice and being kind are kind of two different things. When I show up to you and I'm real with you and real about myself, that's being kind because I'm actually inviting your feedback. I'm not just trying to shut it down by having you like me. I'm actually saying to you, I'm working on this. And I think in a healthy relationship, when we know there's conflict, if we don't run from it, but if we find a way through it by owning our stuff, that's so key.
Oh, wow. That was just critical right there. I believe so many of us need that reminder of, and for me, you know my personality well, so I'll be really honest.
Yeah.
Conflict, right? What do I want to do, Gillian? You can tell the whole world, right? I want to run. I just want to avoid it, just smooth things over. But you have taught me, and as I become more aware of my tendency to do that, to lean in, and
Hmm.
actually it makes the relationship richer. So
It does.
yes, we have these unmet expectations, right,
Yeah.
of other
Yeah.
people. How do those unspoken expectations harm others and the people that we love? They even harm ourselves, don't they? What do we do with all
Oh,
these
yeah.
unspoken expectations of relationships?
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you a question, Lori.
Oh, no.
Would you would you walk into a job where you didn't have a clear job description?
Well, I try not to. Definitely,
Uh-huh.
I want to have clarity around what I'm being asked to do. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think we all want to live up to some performance standard or standard so we know how we're doing. I think all of us want to know how we're doing.
Yeah.
And so, in a relationship where there are unspoken expectations, I should say, um, first of all, if you and I are in a relationship and I have expectations of you and I've never spoken them to you, I'm setting you up for failure in a relationship. I'm setting myself up for disappointment and discouragement. And I might actually fracture the relationship with the things that I haven't said to you. And personally, I just don't think that's very fair. I mean, you and I are both moms and we're both grandmas. And if you were to take a little 3-year-old out to a restaurant, you'd probably say to them, hey, this is how I want you to behave. And you'd set the expectations for them so that they could meet them, right?
Mhm.
But in a relationship, when we have expectations of each other that they don't, others don't even know about, how on earth can we live up to those? It's
Yeah.
kind of like the other duties as expected, in a
Right.
job description.
Yeah.
You just don't know what they are.
Yeah. And I see that in marriage a lot.
Yes,
We put a lot of
yes.
unspoken expectations on our spouse from our idealistic viewpoint of marriage. Is that true?
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, that's a whole other, segment for sure. Um, But yes, I mean, I think the unspoken expectations in marriages can be such a place of great disappointment,
Mm.
but also it can really hurt a marriage.
Yeah.
And you know what? I mean, how can my husband possibly live up to my expectations if he doesn't even know what they are?
Exactly. Exactly. And that's where it comes back full circle into our conversation about own your
Yeah.
stuff, be vulnerable,
Mhm.
communicate even your needs and,
Yes.
and express them to those so you can have healthy relationships. Okay, just quickly, what's one thing people can do today to have healthier, happier relationships?
Okay. Listen with your heart and your head.
Mm.
So when Dr. Mary and I work with first responders, and we also say to them, when you come upon someone who's in a messy situation, ask yourself this question: how did this person get here? What's gone on in their life to bring them to this point? And then we can look at the situation with empathy instead of judgment. So in a relationship, if my husband comes through the door and snaps at me, if I can step back and say, wow, I wonder what's happened in my hubby's day
Mm.
that is really bugging him.
Yeah.
If I can do that instead of judging him for the way he's come into the door, I'm coming into a relationship with empathy towards him as a human being. Imagine if we were all doing that for each other, because we're in a messy time right now.
Yes.
A lot of us feel very stressed about many, many things. And so if we can try and come to that with empathy and kindness and curiosity, what's going on with you today that's got you so upset? We do that with toddlers, right? They can't tell us all the time what they want.
Yeah.
Um, so we go through the process of elimination. Are you hungry? Do you need change? Like, are you tired? What's going on? But if we can look at that from an adult perspective and just say, hey, what's going on with you? I really want to know how your day's going.
Well, excellent advice. Once again, thank you, Gillian. And for more information on Gillian's coaching and her podcast, go to 700club.ca.